I'm going to show you a few hacks on how to get consistent on-brand visual content with ChatGPT. And I'm not talking about that cheesy AI looking stuff, but actual really branded, beautiful content that can work for any kind of brand. The key here is to not just do the boring stuff that everyone else is teaching. So I've been looking at a lot of the YouTube videos and they're kind of showing, this stuff is pretty new. So they're showing you all these ways to kind of like one shot these marketing graphics. And a lot of people are showing how to do it with physical products and things, and they're just kind of merging images together. That's all well and good. But as a designer for 15 years, I'm looking at it like, well, I can't really move stuff around and it's really not quite right. So how do we get this to look a little bit better, right? So the problem is AI can get you pretty close, but most images are just a little bit off. And that's super annoying, especially if you have to go in and start to like re-render this stuff and you're waiting for the AI to create these new images. And then it's just not quite right. And so people get really frustrated with that. The layouts are kind of weird. The text isn't really usable. That's a huge problem and it can waste a lot of your time. So the solution is to use AI to mock up the idea and then have it generate the individual layers, like the backgrounds, the stock photos, and the accent elements, and then drop those into something like Canva or Google Slides or whatever you use to make your graphics. And now you can piece together these individual layers. And it's actually way better because you have different layers and things you can use, and you can be much more on brand with perfect design, logos, and have control over it. But using those AI elements, even like cool little sparkle effect, dust background pieces, they can all stack together. So you can create really beautiful branded graphics without a lot of work, and you can have these assets in place. So you have all the raw pieces that you need for any kind of marketing that you want to do. And as you look through these images, these are really high quality, beautiful images that you can now make in just a few clicks with AI. So what I'm going to do is quickly go through and actually log in and show you how I get AI to make that kind of content to stay on brand. Now, the way I like to work is I go through these different layers. Okay. So with your brand, it's really important for the AI to understand the big idea, the big concept of what's going on with your brand. So I try to feed it a lot of information about the business, the ideal customer, the overall goals of the brand, the kind of content that will be shared, any information you can give it, even like transcripts of recordings or content that you grab from the web and say, it's kind of like this brand, and just feed it a bunch of information. The more it understands about your ideal customer, the pain points, and how you help them, the better it can do at creating this kind of branded visual content. Next up is the fonts and colors. So how do you like bring it together? Well, the fonts and colors are really key to create the mood and the feel. Next up are those background images, then the stock photos, and then some of these accent elements. So those are the kind of layers I'm looking for when I'm creating content with ChatGPT. So what I'm going to do right now is walk you through the steps of how to make this happen. And then we'll come back at the end and revisit this list. But I'm going to show you actually what I did. Okay, so for this conversation here with ChatGPT, I had given it a bunch of information about the vision, the problem, the solution, the ideal customer, and I actually had to come up with name ideas. This is going to be a membership, so the name that we decided on was this Embody Society. Is a pretty cool name. And if we scroll down, basically we got it up to speed with the idea. Cool, we like this idea, ChatGPT. Go ahead and sell me the vision of that brand. So I have it tell me and describe to me, so I make sure we're on the same page before I start doing visual content. And once that's good, I tell it to tell me the visual feel and vibe, right? So describe how it will look and feel. And what you'll find is that ChatGPT is really good at describing the kind of the moody feel of it in words. And it will often be pretty wordy about it. So I tell it, all right, now just in one paragraph form, so we can tighten that up. Sounding good. Now, one paragraph describing the visual that captures the feel of the brand with no words. So I'm trying to have the AI tell me what it's going to look like without actually saying what it is. And I'll read through that. And in this case, I said, okay, now more abstract, more of the feel of it. So I'm trying to have it describe the feeling. And then I told it, okay, now a more moody vibe, like the background image for the website, just the image itself and not any text. So we can read through this and see what the AI is thinking. And for me, I didn't really like that. So I said, okay, not quite. This needs to be muted or faded out so text can go on top, describe it, so it will work better as a background. And now it understands a little bit better of what I'm looking for, so it can describe that visual concept more clearly. And then I didn't really feel like it was speaking to our ideal customer. So I said, okay, but we aren't really speaking to the ICA, ideal customer avatar. It should be aspirational and luxe vibe. So you see here, what I'm doing is guiding the AI to be more clear before I have it create visual content. And now we're on the right track. So at this point, I said, okay, now describe a mood board, a vision board for this brand. Okay, so I'm still having to write it out. It's describing now way more on brand, like what I'm looking for. So it's describing every element, every piece of the brand. And now I try to tighten that up. So again, it gets a little bit lengthy. So I said, okay, now one paragraph. And now we have a pretty tight concept here, okay? And now at this point, I'm gonna have it actually create some visuals. So say, okay, create a visual mood board for this so I can see it. And this is where it starts to get fun. So the visual mood board that it created looked like this, and that's pretty cool. And if I zoom in, you can see it was really capturing a lot of the ideas that I was describing and having it write up. It's able to now bring that to life really fast. Okay, so all I'm doing at this point is trying to see if we're on the right track. Visually is describing it, but can it create it? Well, that's looking pretty good. But I don't stop there. At that point, I'll say, okay, great, now another concept for me. And the next concept was also looking really good. Starting to see what the AI is thinking about the brand. And so I know now we're on the right track. So I said, okay, I like the first one that you made a little bit better. Help me imagine how my brand will look across all my marketing assets. Explain to me how my visual brand identity could be applied to various digital marketing assets. So now I want to take it off this kind of mood board into more realistic environments. And again, I first have it write up what that would look like. So now it's going to describe what it would look like on my website. It's going to describe social media, email newsletters, PDFs, workbooks, courses, because it understands where I'm going with the brand. So if you had a physical product, it will probably describe it in different settings. But since this will be an online educational product, it's describing these different environments. And now I say, okay, great. Now make a graphic that visually shows this so I can better imagine how it will look. And now it starts to look real. Okay, so now we have mock-ups of how this could look in different environments. And as we zoom in on this, you can start to get a good feel. And now you can see the layers stacking up. The fonts and colors are looking really cool. We can see what these background images may look like. It's even pulling together the written messaging, which is cool. You don't have to go with what it's saying here, but it's giving us some ideas of what it could look like. Some of these are pretty weak, like the website doesn't look great, the newsletter. They got a little bit lazy on those, but overall I can see that we are moving in the right direction. Now, one of the next things I tried to do, and this is what I'm gonna start to teach you more, is I went and I said, okay, this is cool. I want that as the background image. So I told it to make that larger and in a 16:9 so I could have that layer as a background image. But unfortunately, right now there's limitations and it wasn't able to create that. Super annoying. For whatever reason, AI is blocking shadows or reflections like that. So it didn't really work. But what I did is I just opened that up and I took a screenshot of it. So what you'll start to do, and this is kind of the process next, once you start to see the look and feel, you can take screenshots of these low res ideas and concepts, and I'll start to have it generate these. It can do it really well for just generic backgrounds. You can even have it create that in different size ratios, 9:16, 16:9. You can see here some of these text things. Once you get your fonts figured out, it's not telling me what the fonts are here. I can go find those fonts myself, but you can see what it would look like with just simple white backgrounds or colored backgrounds. And we can see the different types of feel, colors, and mood for these. So in this case, it didn't make that image for me, which sucked, but continuing on, you can ask it to go in and create like the logo if you want. Just tell it to generate the logo. It did make that for me, which is useful, but I went and actually recreated that myself so I could have more control over it. But if you wanted to have it create individual elements of what it made, just tell it to create it with a transparent background and you can have that layer on its own. So you can start to pull out the elements and have it create those in high resolution images. And for me, I wasn't quite ready to start creating content yet. So I went ahead and asked it again, okay, now more mock-ups of the brand direction and visual assets across all touch points. So we have another one here showing me a little bit more ideas of what that could look like. Super cool. Now I can see a little bit better what it might look like in different places, how the fonts and colors fit together, how the kind of images I would need would be used. And again, looking back at this, the layers that we're looking for, it understands the big idea, the brand concept. We're getting the fonts and colors dialed in, the mood, the feel. The background images are huge for a brand, really pulls the unique feeling together. And you saw I spent a lot of time dialing that in so we can get that feeling just right. And now when I get into more of the stock photos and these accent elements. Okay, so what I did next is I took all that conversation that I had before and I created a project inside ChatGPT and I just uploaded text files of that whole conversation describing the brand visuals, the feel. So it has all that. I also uploaded information about the brand so it kind of knew the content and the ideal customer. Again, just upload a bunch of text into a project so it knows about the brand and the visual identity. And then I just started a new chat inside that project. And I said, help me imagine an entire feed of Instagram images for this brand. The look, the feel, the visuals, the designs, the words, the ideas, the emotions. And again, I start with a written text version of that. So we're going through the same process now. It will write out and describe this for me. And as I read through this, it all sounds pretty good. So next I said, great, create a visual mock-up showing me all of these ideas on one graphic. I didn't quite understand what I asked for. So I said, oh, let me see the images and visuals. So now we have an image here kind of showing what an Instagram feed could look like. So again, now I see what the AI is thinking. I feel like it's pretty on track. I can see the kind of visuals I would need and how to put it together. And one thing that I noticed is it wasn't really hitting the point. So I said, okay, how can we make this more visually stunning and unique? I want to see the benefit of these ideas as well. So mix in branded images of luxury, tropical getaways, and more visuals that show the result or outcome that they desire. So I found this to be a really good hack to get better visual concepts that are actually going to speak more to your ideal customer. Tell it to create visuals that capture the benefit or the result that they desire. And now we can see it's writing up ideas and new directions. It's giving me a whole list of concepts that I can create. As I scroll through that, now we can go ahead and say, yes, go ahead and show me what that looks like. And now we're really cooking because now we've got some content that is looking way more interesting. And again, new visual ideas for me to pull from. And now here's the fun part. Okay. So what I did is I said, okay, great. Go ahead and create a high res vertical image of number one. Okay. So it gave me these ideas and it crafted up an image that is pretty good. Okay, that's pretty close. But I didn't love how that turned out and I wanted to speed things up. So I actually took a screenshot, right? I took a screenshot of that initial concept. So I just opened this up, took a screenshot of this because it is pretty low res. And then you can drop it into Sora, just upload that image. And I told it to, what I'd say, make this same image basically. I just uploaded it in and it actually gave me a few variations of that image. It can create up to 4 images in one go. So now using Sora, you can actually just regenerate that image, higher resolution, and it will give you multiple variations of that image in one go. So now we can start to move out of ChatGPT and sometimes we'll go into Sora and see if it can generate that. The problem with Sora is it doesn't have all that other context. So it can go off the rails a bit and it's not always the best quality. So I've been finding a balance of going back and forth between ChatGPT and Sora. I like using a project inside ChatGPT because it knows more about what I'm trying to do. And it can really help with these kind of ideations and mockups. If I want to create multiple variations of an image, like this first one took a while to create and it wasn't quite what I wanted, you can try using Sora to generate multiple variations. Okay, then continuing down, I said, okay, great. Now make the pull view image. It understood that pretty well and knocked it out of the park right away. So now I'm building out a library of these actual images that it mocked up, but now it can make the high res versions very easily. And now you can even play from that and say, okay, great. I love that image. Now another scene from inside a hotel room with a view. Boom, there's a great image. And now I can kind of describe different scenes and things that I want. So I said, great, now a scene with shadows from a window and a cup of matcha. That is just an insane photo. Again, all on brand. And then here, yes, now similar, but with a journal. So we're getting these stock photos that I know I may need in the future. And what you can do at this point is like, well, I don't know what I want it to make next. Just go ahead and say, okay, now 10 more image ideas. And now it will write out the ideas. That all sounds good. So I'm seeing what the AI is thinking. And then I said, show them all on a grid. So now I'm like, okay, cool. Which ones do I like? Which ones are jumping off the page for me? Then I said, great. Now create the one on the upper right with the "it is done" text. And there we go. It's creating these images. Beautiful. It's pretty fast to knock these out. And again, first try, I'm getting really high quality photos that I can use with minimal text. Is usually pretty good. This one here, the bath with the candles, pretty good, but we had some issues with that. So I had to go through and try to do a better job of that. Then I ended up taking a screenshot and said, almost just make it exactly like this one. and it understood how to do that. So again, taking screenshots of the mockups that it made and then having it just generate those as a high resolution image, that's a really good hack. So we continued like this for a while, just generating different things. And, if you ever run out of ideas, great, come up with 10 more. There we go. It gave me ideas. And now let's make the grid showing them all. So we have new visual concepts. I asked it to make it a little bit more large so I could see the images better. So the mockups are better and easier to use. And then it started to create things. It made this one that's really nice. I didn't like the text on it. I'm trying again to get the layers. I don't really want the text on it because I want to have more precise branded text. So I just said, great, but no text on it. Knock that out really well. Sometimes it'll make a great image, but you don't want to see their face. So I said, great, but have her facing away from the camera. Didn't quite, it got me a new image that was good, but not quite what I wanted, but still on brand. And again, just continuing on like this, we're generating incredible images, branded content. And eventually we built out this library of all these images that we can use. And now when we start to make graphics, whatever tool you're using, I actually like to use Google Slides. So I'm very unique in that sense. But when you start to make your graphics, you know what you're doing. You have the ideas in your head of what it can look like. And if you have any design skills, you can start to piece these layers together. And in most tools now, you can even just, cut out the background and duplicate the image to create some different layers. Some can just be text. And in some cases, I wanted a little bit more unique brand elements. So I thought, hey, it'd be cool to have some kind of dust or particle type layer here. And that's what I call an accent element. And to get something like that, what I did is I started a new chat inside that same project. And I said, imagine transparent, like sticker style images for this brand, but luxury premium symbols that can be overlaid on graphics or used in various places on the website. List out 10. So start the same way. If I want some transparent background, like elements or pieces, I had it come up with the ideas for me. I don't sit there and think about it. I just have it come up with the ideas. And then I say, great, now create all of this in one big image so I can see it, so I can kind of get a visual idea of what it's thinking about here. And you see the different elements it created. Then you can go in and say, great, now create just one of those elements, or again, take a screenshot or tell it which one specifically. And now we have different elements that are on brand, transparent backgrounds, and they look really cool. So this is another library of content that you can build up to help you with all of your graphic design needs. And for me, it kind of went off the rails here. I made like a blue one. So you got to tighten it back up, tell it what you want. Wasn't loving this. Wasn't really loving this one either. And then I thought, maybe I just want that like glitter dust kind of feel. So it started to do that. Didn't love that. Then I said, okay, now, but just the dust glitter and nothing else. And here we go. It gave me that dust glitter element with a transparent background uniquely created for this brand. So that's how I was able to create this kind of dust layer particle that just adds a little bit of extra feel to the graphics. And you can do the same thing for anything you want to create. I gave it a screenshot of some ideas, maybe some different elements I could use. So like these kind of sacred geometry, and it created some cool abstract kind of designs that you could throw in like in the background of an image, or like a transparent overlay on top if you want to add different effects or styles. And it did a great job of coming up with really unique designs that, again, just could add some more branded elements to put in your graphics. And one last thing I'll show you here is another idea. If you ever see things out there that you like this was a magazine that we thought was really cool. This photo looked great. I took a picture from the magazine, said make an image exactly like this, but with no text on it, make it 9:16. And it generated a pretty good one. I had to just give it a little bit of feedback. And then boom, we got a really nice stock photo from a magazine that, it's slightly different, but now we have that. And another one, this was a cool thing that we pulled up on Pinterest, something like that, but more of a Latin woman. Boom, now we have stock photos, more on brand. And then I told it, now go ahead and move further away, but more of a full body of her at the cafe. Looked pretty good, but wasn't quite on brand. So I said, now again, but a little bit more grainy and soft focus, and boom, that feels a little bit better. So in a few seconds now, we're creating these unique images. And here's another fun one of like a video on YouTube of some kind of made up like background scene. Just took a picture of that, and boom, it made it in a 9:16 incredible image. And that's, again, how we're building out this library of unique branded images that can be used in a lot of ways. And this is just a starting point for this brand, but just seeing how it could look, bringing all the ideas together in one place. You can see how these graphics start to look really on point, and having that library and having the inspiration. And anytime you need inspiration, just go in and ask it for 10 new ideas and to mock up 10 different concepts for you. Now you can see how it should look, what you like, what you don't like. Then you can start to bring that to life really quick. And I did the same thing for this other brand here, which is pretty fun. It's just playing around with different styles, but again, made a little bit different style graphics, but very hand sketch with transparent backgrounds. And now I can layer those. I created different layers in Google Slides where I have these backgrounds ready to go. So then I can just drop these kind of graphics on top and use my text to create really cool graphics super fast. And that's how I'm using ChatGPT right now to create awesome on-brand graphics. Let's go ahead and just recap really quick. So what I showed you today is the hack to get consistent on-brand visuals fast with ChatGPT. The problem is that AI is really good at making stuff, but it gets close. And if you're trying to use it for everything all in one shot, it's going to be a little bit off. Most of the graphics it makes right now are just not quite right, especially if you are really trying to build a premium brand. So the solution, how I use it, is to have it give you ideas and then generate the individual layers of those ideas so that you can piece them together and get that polished final look. And remember, the different layers that you're looking for has to understand everything about your brand. Then you start to build on top of that fonts and colors, background images, stock photos, and accent elements. And here are some of the steps that you can take to do that over and over again. Always start by uploading as much information into ChatGPT as you can, then have it describe the visual identity first before you make visuals. And if you're just getting started with your brand, have it describe the mood board first, then have it create the mood board, have it come up with a few different ideas so you can pick the direction you like best. Once you get that figured out, go ahead and have it describe the marketing assets so you can start to see how it will look in different places. Have it create the graphic to show you what it will look like. And now anytime you want to create graphics, have it come up with several ideas, create a mock-up to show you all those ideas. And now you can pick which direction you want to go in, what visuals you need it to create. And at that point, you can try to have it make the whole graphic in one go, or I'd recommend have it create some of those layers for you so you can pull it out of ChatGPT and into your design tool. All right, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. Go ahead and leave a comment below if there's anything that you saw here that stood out to you, or if there's anything you're doing differently that's working well for you. I'd love to see what you're doing and if any of these tips helped you today. If you want more training on how to build your brand and grow your business, be sure to subscribe, check out my other videos, and go to designhacker.com for more training and resources. All right, until next time, take care.